Travis Mjolsnes, driving a 1988 E30 M3. Still has the S14, 2.5 liter bottom end. It's got a high flow top end, Schrick cams from Turner. It's got DTM pulleys, so flat belts are here, so no longer has the V belts. Carbon fiber intake, and then an Alpha N, which is again just an engine management system, so it eliminates the original, it has a airflow meter which is no longer there. Lightweight flywheel, sports racing clutch, and then obviously DTM shifter, DTM linkage through in the transmission. Back to, has the Turner solid rear bushings and diff cooler also. So really just everything I've done has been in the lens of what they ran in Europe or raced with them, has kind of been the focus. The whole cage is a full DTM replica, so I was fortunate enough when I was selected to run the 2016 Monterey Historics for celebrating 100th anniversary of BMW. There was another DTM car there, so I could take real detailed pictures and use that with the group that built the cage for me last year, that they took the time to measure it out and do the way that they built them back in the 90s when they raced them. Condor's kind of speed shop, plexiglass side windows and rear. I do have a complete replica DTM gauge cluster and dash, so all the right gauges that they raced with. So I'm fortunate enough to buy it in high school for $4,500. I drove it to high school and drove it to college for many years in Minnesota in the winter, so I feel bad, but I think it had seen snow before that, but did drive it to school for many years. Dated my wife, now my wife, with the car when I was in high school and college. But then in 1999 I really started to progress into a race car. But did the one lap of America in 2000 with the car, and that's when the paint job was done actually. It was donated by a local car dealership, BMW dealership donated the paint job because we were running for a local charity, and so it was just a great event where we could bring a lot of people together to help support the car. It was one of the longest one laps they ever did at 6,000 miles in 6 days. They never did one that long after because it was so grueling. No air conditioning, all the way down to Sebring, Florida, up to Watkins Glen, back over to Michigan. I mean, it was a crazy event, and we had to drive the car there, mind you. We didn't trailer it, so we drove from Minnesota to start in Gingerman. So it was a grueling week, to put it mildly. So that really kind of kicked off the passion. I knew what the car was, but I didn't honestly quite know when I bought it the DTM history or the German touring car history. As I progressed into it, I started to really become a good student of the history of it and trying to research what were different with those cars than the street car. So that's what really drove the passion, just to start continuing to piece by piece find stuff globally. Certain suppliers have started now to remake things, which for many years you couldn't get to. You had to either know people that had the parts to get them, or again, Turner was sourcing a bunch from overseas for the longest time, so I could get those. I mean, that's years ago. And so certainly that just helped continue to feed the passion. I knew long term I was hopeful that I could go vintage racing with it, but it was still the time when I had it, E36s were coming out and E46s then later, and everybody was just dumping these. But then now they've come back to where people realize it's a lot of fun, it looks cool, right, and it gets great reaction when it goes out to the track. And so it fed on itself to where over time I was hopeful that I could race it, but it was a street car for a long time. So probably the next evolution will be, you'll probably see a little bit larger. This is a DTM 1990, if that makes sense. It'll be DTM 1992, so a little bit bigger rear wing flap, and I already have the front DTM 92 larger front splitter. So you'll see a few little body tweaks. Not much. I mean, I did a lot of work over the last year. It was torn apart a few months ago even, just it was in pieces, and get it back together to get ready for this. So it's a good refresh. Reasonable price, tons of people racing them. Super safe. You learned how to, it's a momentum car, so you have to learn how to drive the car. You can't overpower your mistakes with horsepower, right? So you have to learn how to handle the car, be soft on the brakes, how it's going to carry through a turn, versus some of the other stuff that's just all power. You think you're fast, but you're not, because you're not learning how to just handle it appropriately and come out of the corners and lay it down. And then when you get in a high horsepower car, you can just fly because you've already learned how to balance that car, where to position the car, and how to use the throttle and the brakes and everything at the same time. Depending upon where you are in the country, there's a lot of great car clubs. Depending upon the marque that you like, it may happen to be BMW. I'm biased towards that and know that, but there's a great process there where you can start at just, even if it's their local technical center track, something smaller, you can do a day at the track and build from there, because racing is fun. It can be expensive, but there's ways to do it at an amateur level and not break the bank. And so any of those clubs are a great feeder system to get into it. I'd say don't worry about buying and building this massive car. Spend the money on track time. That'll build on your speed and success versus everything for the car. It's great to add stuff, but start there, then build the car as your skills progress at the same time. just stumbled on it. I mean, I like German cars. I've dabbled in some of the stuff from Italy, and it's fun, but it's just so fragile. So to me, it's really BMW first, and then Porsches after that are really the two that I love. E36 M3s, another E30 M3, 850, 6-speed manual, M Roadster, you name it, through X5s, X4.6 IS, X5M. I mean, it's been a lot of stuff. So M5, E39 M5 for a long time. So shouldn't have sold that one, but I did. Fun car, great sound. I had an exhaust on that and a bunch of Turner parts too. That was fun, you know. So that's again, good balance and just a fun car to drive. I don't mind the modern stuff, but without the manual, you're not, it's fun, but it's more a computer game is taking over versus you're not driving the car, it's driving with you and you're kind of giving it inputs. It would come when I was younger, I was in college, worked at a kind of race preparation shop, and that's how I just kind of got hooked on it too, that we'd come here and I'd help support clients that were running spec racers or older Ferraris, and so that's how I got into racing. It's a tribute to all the hard work and friends that are here and family that have helped support it, that have been great through the years, because it's not just me, right? It's our car, it's our family's car. My kids come, they love coming. It was a unique experience last night. Normally we get to go into the town, but because of the COVID-19 impact, we had to do it here, which was fun and different. But it's a lot of fun. The kids love going because they typically love to ride in the car, and just the whole town comes out. I mean, this track is one of the best in the country, hands out. Just the city supports it, the community comes out. It's so much fun. Where other tracks at times are a challenge, where maybe the cities don't support it as much as the community, but this area just loves racing and comes out and supports it. So.